Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to season 13, episode 43, overall 703 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by our friends at Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out their website, barrycullen.com, for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles and Cadillac vehicles as well. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210 and tell them Chris Palme sent you, or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership is family run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969, and they have been a part of this show for the past 3.5 years. I hope everyone's doing well on this Monday, May 4th, 2026. May the 4th be with you, which is a little line out of the Star Wars movie, since it is Star Wars Day, I guess, Monday, May 4th. Star Wars originally premiered on May 25th, 1977, and my late dad took me to that movie back where I was living in Oakville. So it's hard to believe it's been almost 50 years since the original Star Wars came out anyways, but it's Happy Star Wars Day here on this Monday, May 4th, 2026. Hope everyone's doing well, and I'm looking forward to my guest today. She's a friend of mine, a friend of the show's. This is her 6th appearance, and she is from Buffalo, New York, in a great city for sports right now with the Sabres, and her name is Kelly Dudzik. She is an Emmy Award-winning journalist, reporter, anchor with WGR Ch.2 in Buffalo, New York. We're going to bring on Kelly Dudzik right now.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing okay, Kelly. How are you doing?
I'm great. It's a beautiful day here in Buffalo. It's 70 degrees and sunny.
Same here. It's around 20 Celsius. Well, yeah, we do 20 Celsius, which is 68 Fahrenheit. So very similar. I actually got my shorts on today. I got my hair cut, and I actually had my sunroof open on my car for the first time in 7 months.
Nice.
68's balmy to me.
Yeah.
It's been a long winter. Ours started at the end of October, and we were getting snow until the beginning of April. And we even had snow flurries here the other day on Saturday. So it's kind of nice to have the warmer weather finally show up.
Yeah, we had frost last week, and it was cold enough this morning where I wore my winter coat to work. So we haven't been able to put the winter coats away just yet.
I was telling people I wouldn't be planting flowers and all that until maybe the middle of May or the May 2 or the Memorial Day weekend or our 2-4 weekend.
That's what they say here too. Don't do it till Memorial Day weekend. But we were able to clean up our garden this weekend because it was dry out on Sunday. So we got out there yesterday, spent a couple hours cleaning things up. So now it's ready to go for when we, want to plant what we're going to plant this year.
What's some of the favorite flowers you like to plant? And do you do vegetables too?
We've tried doing vegetables before. We've done little tomatoes. We've done basil. We have a rosemary plant inside that has been doing okay inside. So usually like easy to grow things. We've tried doing a lemon plant or tree that's not doing so well. But then we just have flowering bushes outside that grow back every year. So we really don't have to do much work on those.
How are your 4 cats and dog doing these days?
They are great. Elsa was actually in here a few minutes ago, but I kicked her out and I shut the door because she would have been fine. Everybody else is, I think, sleeping and napping. Milo he's our dog. He was kind of around and he was on the bed. But yeah, I don't think I saw any of the other cats when I got home because I worked a kind of a different shift today. I did some stuff for daybreak and then I did midday and the noon like I normally do. And then I did a story that'll air later this afternoon, and I left that for the producers at the station. So when I got home today, the cats are not used to seeing me home at 3 o'clock. So only Elsa was active.
Now, do you find your cats as they get older, they're getting more fussy with cat foods? Because I know my cat Latte now has to have
Oh,
food imported from Italian cat food.
wow. Oh,
Yes.
fancy. Well, all of our cats are on different diets. So three of the four, everybody except for Elsa, has to have prescription food. So they really don't have a choice. Blanche and Sage are on dental food because they had issues with their teeth, and they also get wet food. And then Gabby has issues with her bladder. She had bladder crystals. I think that was a year ago. So she's on this special prescription food that's just hers. And then Elsa just gets regular food. So if they stopped eating that food, we would have to find an alternative prescription food. And I think here there are really just two main brands that are your options to get them, because you have to get them either from online with a prescription from your vet or from your vet's office. So if they got picky, that would be problematic for them.
Latte is on urinary food because she has stage 1
Oh,
kidneys, but
yeah,
she's
Katana had that.
totally
Yep.
yes, she's still fine, and she
Good.
goes to the vets. Taking her to the vet is the easy part. It's getting it into the carrying cage, which is,
Yeah.
I've had to cancel many appointments because the cats seem to sense when they know they're going
Yes.
to the vet. I know that sounds
Yep.
ridiculous, but you agree with me there?
They know because they hear you get the crate out. Like, we have our crates in a closet that, like, that's the only thing that's in there. So they only know that closet opening, that door opening sound when the crates are going to come out. And Blanche is usually the hardest to get into the crate to go. And she's actually next up at the end of May. So hopefully, maybe we'll bring the crate out the night before so that we can just kind of grab her if she's sleeping. Usually, if she's sleeping, it's easier to grab her and just put her in the crate real quick. She doesn't know what's happening, and then you're good to go. But yesterday, I actually had to give all the cats Bravecto because we have Milo now, and he's outside all the time. The cats don't go outside, they're inside only. But they have to be on flea and tick meds. So every 3 months, I have to wrangle them up. I get all the different tubes ready to go, but they hear me take it out of the box and they hear me cut open the wrapper that it's in and open it up. And then I've got to like get each cat separately into the office here, and I shut the door so they can't escape. And then you've got to like hold the cat and squeeze the tube like on the back of their head of this liquid that you're not supposed to get on your hands or anything. And you've got to do it quick because they get angry and they know what's happening. So yesterday I was able to actually grab Blanche pretty easily because she was like laying down or something, and I was able to get the Bravecto on her. But sometimes that could take like an hour or an hour and a half, all four cats. Yesterday it was okay-ish. Like, Elsa knew what was going on and started running under the TV stand and then running out, and she was the hardest to get actually, because by the time I had gotten up to her and she was the fourth one, she knew exactly what was happening.
Now, once you get them to the vet, are they fine with the vet like my cat Latte is?
Yeah, usually they're okay. I mean, they don't necessarily like it. They'll kind of hang out in the carrier for a while, or they'll go right back in. Sometimes they're hard to get out of it and they don't want to get out of it, but they don't like scratch or bite or anything. So it's not that bad.
Kelly, what's the latest news and stories that you're covering for WGR Channel 2, currently for midday and Buffalo First at 5 and 6 p.m. news?
Yeah, so today I did a story that was pretty cool. I didn't get to go to the story because it happened at 10 in the morning, and that's like right after we have our morning editorial meeting is still going on, but that's also when I'm going through and proofreading all the scripts for midday. So photographer Charles Moore went to Ellicott Elementary School in Orchard Park, and Billy Buffalo was there. It was a special day. Billy Buffalo was there, and the Bills gave away prizes because these kids participated in a program where they mapped AEDs, defibrillators, like all over the place, not just in Orchard Park or in the South Towns or Western New York, but they actually did this in March and April. So a lot of the kids went on spring break and traveled with their families, and they ended up mapping more than 2,500 AEDs all around the globe. Like one kid, I think, went to Thailand, one kid went to Hawaii, and what they did is they like mapped the location, and then it's part of this project where all of these AEDs go into this system so that if somebody calls 911, somebody can say, I think this person's having a heart attack or heart problems. The person on the other end of the line, the 911 operator, will have this database and can look it up and say, okay, there's an AED like 50 feet away from you, and tell you exactly where it is, because you have like classrooms of kids and just volunteers all across the country mapping where these things are. So that is amazing that they did that. And because they did that, Billy Buffalo visited the school today, and they also gave out special prizes to the kids who I think maybe mapped the most of them or something. There were a few kids who got awards, like signed cleats from Bills players and signed helmets from Bills players. It was pretty cool to see that. And also to hear the why of it. And it's because of what happened to Damar Hamlin in January of 2023. He survived cardiac arrest on the field when they were playing the Bengals. And we also heard from today, not only the kid's teacher, but a man whose wife went into cardiac arrest. She survived. And so now he advocates like all around the country. He's from Dallas and he was in Buffalo today. Just talking about why it's important to know where an AED is if you have one at your workplace. Like we have one at work. I know a lot of malls have them. All the schools, I think, are required to have them now. But it's just an awareness thing because it could save a life.
By the way, I need to recertify because I was CPR, first aid, and target responder AED when I was in security, and I need to get recertified again. When I was in my other career, security, I was able to help save a woman's life that had a stroke and also had a heart attack. The paramedics did their job, but I recognized the signs and called for help and did what I had to do. And I really need to recertify and get my my AED training and first aid CPR, because you never know when you're going to need it.
Yeah, it's super important. And there are classes all the time. I know here that there are a lot of outreach efforts, a lot of community groups hold classes. There are classes on the weekends so it's convenient for people to go. It's something that I did when I was in high school, and I never got recertified after that. I was first aid and CPR certified. And since then, it's hands-free CPR now, because when I learned how to do it, you had to learn doing, the blowing into somebody's mouth and the chest compressions, and now it's different. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna actually do that in the next couple of weeks, because I just had a neighbor a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, he passed away. He had a massive heart attack, but the paramedics and the police got there within a couple minutes. And my neighbor actually gave him a chance because she heard him fall in his townhouse, and she immediately called 911. Unfortunately, his doors were locked, so they had to break in to his unit, and at least she gave him a fighting chance of survival, because if she wasn't home, I don't think anyone would have heard him. And he was 73, but you never know when it's going to happen to a neighbor, a friend, a family member, a stranger. You never know. So for me, that's something I want to get recertified about again as well. And it's probably important for kids in high schools as well as the elementary schools to learn this as well.
Yeah, and this was like a pre-K through 12 thing, and they had this event today at the elementary school, but I think that this was a pilot program where they involved kids of all ages, because they said like a little kid might not be able to do CPR or use the machine, but you can tell an adult, and you can also use that map that's online to look for where an AED is, or just to be aware of the situation. The teacher that we interviewed, she was the health and wellness teacher. She said that it's like when she learned as a kid to call 911 if somebody needs help. She said that was, scary, knowing that you were learning how to do that, because it was learning about what to do in a situation that could be scary. But she said she had to do it once when she was a kid, and then at least you have that power. You're empowered. what to do when emergency might happen.
Kelly, what's a day, what's an average day for you, like at WGRZ?
Ooh.
When do you get up in the morning and start getting stuff ready?
Yeah, so my normal schedule is 9:30 to 6:30, and today I worked a slightly earlier shift. But usually I go through, I find story ideas, um, and I keep a running email. So I send that email out before I go to work, and then I get to work at 9:30. We have our editorial meeting, and that's where we go around the table and everybody gives their ideas in person in front of everybody. We also go through like what's already been shot that day, what stories are doing well on our website. Usually there's a meteorologist at that meeting and they go over what the day's going to be like weather wise. Um, and then everybody's assigned their story. So people who are working a day shift will end up doing stories for the 4, 4:30, 5, 5:30, 6. And then usually if you have a story that airs in the 6, that'll rear at 6:30. And then you also have to shoot a short snippet of yourself just talking on camera about your story for the 7 o'clock newscast. So that's all decided in that 9:30 meeting. That meeting's usually over with by 10:15, but I usually leave it early because I have to go through all the scripts for midday and, just check and make sure I can read them smoothly, check them for factual errors, check them for grammar issues. And so then that usually takes me up until like 10:30. And then I go fix my hair and makeup, and then I have to be in the studio 10 minutes. The rule is you always have to be in the studio 10 minutes before the newscast you're anchoring. So at 10:50, I go into the studio and they do mic checks. They also test your IFB, that's your earpiece, so that you can hear the producer and director. They make sure all that stuff's working. There's a tablet I log on to, and that's how I can see, because we don't print paper scripts anymore. You used to print like a whole stack of paper scripts for every newscast. So I log into the tablet. That's where I see like the rundown of the show, the order of the stories, and I can pull up each script there in case I need to make changes or I just have it. I check, make sure the teleprompter's working because I run my own teleprompter. So you got to check that before the show. And then I anchor midday, and then we record cut-ins that air on channel 2 in the 2 o'clock hour. And then I go through the scripts for the noon show. And most of those are very similar to the midday scripts, but sometimes there are some new stories. And then I do the noon show. And then after that, I start the reporting part of my shift. So that's when I'll start either going out in the field with a photographer or by myself and getting all the video I need, doing all the interviews that I need, getting all the information. And then usually we come back to the station and we have to write the story and then edit all the video. Like today, a photographer shot our story, but then he was gone. Like he was an overnight photographer. So by the time I wrote my story, he was gone. So I edited all the video myself and put that together, and that'll air at 4:30 and 5:30 today. So I spend the afternoon putting the stories together. Sometimes you're live in the shows, either in the field or in the studio. Most of the time now we're in the studio or in the newsroom. Sometimes like today, I just left the whole recorded thing for them. So that'll air and I don't need to be there for that. Then you also have to do a web story so that when they post the video, there's a written story to go with it. And you also have to do 2 vertical videos every day, and those go on our app. So those are 2 separate videos that we do. And I think that's it. Usually I do my web story after I write the stories for the newscast. So usually the last thing I do before I go home is I write up the web story.
Kelly, how would you describe yourself as a writer? And for those people that are watching our show live stream or on audio and they're interested in getting into broadcast media, what advice would you give to them from your experience?
I would say you have to be quick, but you also have to be accurate. Like being accurate is more important than being first with a story. So you have to write in a clear, concise manner for broadcast, and you write like how you talk. So it's different from writing a newspaper story, because a newspaper story, you might have more room to right. It can be longer, the sentences can be longer. In broadcast, usually like my style is I want to hear from the people in the story more so than my own voice in the story. So I'll use longer sound bites and shorter what we call tracks. That's the part where my voice is recorded in between the sound bites, the interviews with the people. Um, so that's usually my strategy. Like I would rather have, say a story is a minute and 30 seconds. I would want like the bulk of that to be the people I interviewed talking and not me talking. Now, sometimes you end up with a complicated story or there's something where the person's soundbite is way too long and I can say it faster. In that situation, then I'll put a longer track in, maybe. But usually I would rather hear from the people that I've interviewed because the story's about them.
Now, with everybody's attention span shrinking nowadays, do you see stories being condensed even more than less than 90 seconds in the future?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I worked in one newsroom where you weren't allowed to do a story over a minute and 20 seconds unless a manager approved. Even like 1 second over that, you had to have manager approval. Um, it's not like that really anymore anywhere, I don't think. Um, but depending upon where that video is going, that kind of dictates the length of it. So for a story that's going to air on Channel 2 in a regular traditional newscast, my story today was a little more than 2 minutes. I think it was 2 minutes, 9 seconds. And I felt like it needed that amount of time because I needed to explain what the AED map was, and I needed to have enough time to have the teacher talk and have enough time to let the guy talk who's like doing the maps. But if I'm doing a video that's going on social media, that's going to probably be a lot shorter. But it also depends upon what the topic is too. Um, and if you have really cool video, that you might want to let that video breathe and show more of that video. Or if you have a really good interview, there are interviews that could be like a half hour long that we've done streaming specials with, where you just kind of edit them down into a half hour. Um, and they're fine like that. Or like Ron Plants did a whole special on Artemis too. And I think that was a half hour long and it was like a compilation of a bunch of stories that he did in the weeks leading up to and during it. So it really, there's a lot more flexibility now, I would say. And part of that is because you're doing content for not just the regular TV station, but also for our streaming app, because we've added a lot more streaming shows and also for social media like X and Facebook and Instagram. So it just depends, which is good. I like that there's a variety to it.
Kelly, do you see in the future everything all being live streaming, or do you still see a need for TV stations in the future as well, just as long as they evolve with the times?
Yeah, I think that you'll always have TV stations. I think that they have evolved a lot. Like when I first got in the business, social media was not a thing yet. Um, the internet was just kind of starting out, and TV stations didn't really have great websites. If they did, there was no video on them, and they were just like really short, basic stories. So I think that you do have to continue evolving, and I think a lot of stuff is moving to streaming. So if you go to our app, you would see like all these short videos that we're doing. You would see all the stories that we do for the regular TV station. Um, a lot more streaming. Like I can tell you within the past like year and a half, we had, we have daybreak goes from 4:30 in the morning until 7 in the morning because then the Today Show starts. Well, now after 7 a.m., we go from 7 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. streaming. And that's like a totally separate newscast. So you have 2.5 hours on Channel 2, which we also stream on our website. But then you have 2.5 hours on the app from 7 to 9:30. And then you have midday, which we've had forever. But then we just added, I think in November, the noon newscast. That's streaming. So that's new. There's a special weather show that's on 4 days a week. That starts at 12:30. And then and then 2 days a week, you have Most Buffalo. That's on at 2 on Mondays and Thursdays. And then now our newscasts go from 4 until 6:30 on Channel 2. And then there's a streaming newscast from 6:30 to 7, and then from 7 to 7:30. And then we have the 11 p.m. newscast. So I think you're going to get to a point where you're going to have newscasts like streaming 24/7. Now, whether they're live or not, like a Spectrum News situation, I don't know. Like I could see them doing more live ones, but then at some point you've also got to add more people. And I feel like we're producing a lot of news right now for the amount of people we have. So I don't know how many more you could add, but I do know that they want to add more streaming newscasts. Like that's the way it seems like it's going, because eventually, I think more people might watch the streaming instead of watching the regular TV channel, because everybody's just on their phones all the time. That's just how things are.
One thing, Kelly, 15 years ago, I didn't even know what Wi-Fi was. So the last
Yeah.
15 years, I've had to evolve and learn a lot of new things. And my show is live streamed, but it's also on audio as well. And one
Yep.
thing, too, I learned when I'm interviewing people, I get their bios, I do my homework, I prepare. And also, if I write game night stories for the Bandits or the Bisons or
Yeah.
teams here in Canada, I make sure my sources are legitimate. I want to make sure I fact check and because it takes years to establish a reputation and credibility, but it takes seconds to destroy it. So to me,
Yep.
that's the one thing. I'm self-taught in media, but it's one thing I've learned too is just make sure you fact check and your information is correct and accurate, because that's probably even more important than being first.
Oh, absolutely. And, just even if you aren't part of the media, before you post something online, just like take a beat, think about it, look at what you're about to post, and think, do you really need to post it? Do you really want to post it? Sometimes people post things when they're upset, they're all fired up. And so, yeah, you just got to kind of pause. I always, type something out, read it a whole bunch of times before I hit send, because I don't want there to be a typo or wrong information. So, yeah, because once it's out there, everybody sees it. And even if you delete something,
It's
somebody could
never
have
gone.
still done a screen grab. Right. Exactly.
Kelly, what are your thoughts on AI? I know with myself being freelance media, I sometimes use AI to help me with editing video. I still
Yeah.
do a lot of edit video myself, but with social media and now all these news networks on stream, AI can be a good tool, but there's also a lot of fake stuff. And I wanted to get your thoughts as traditional media on AI.
Yeah. So we are using AI quite a bit. We use it to help us go through scanner traffic. So it's like listening to scanner traffic and going through all the emails. The newsroom gets thousands of emails every day. So there's this app that we use that we log into that kind of aggregates all that for us and really helps it. I use it every day. I log into it and I look at it, but it's really used by the people who are running the desk, what was the traditional assignment desk, and doing stuff for our website. So there's that. But I definitely use every day to log my interviews, because if it's a quick interview, that's easy to log. But sometimes you do a longer interview. I did a profile piece a few weeks ago with Dr. Nancy Nielsen, who had been the president of the American Medical Association. She works at the medical school here. And I think I talked to her for about 45 minutes. So to go through and listen to that and then type everything out by hand as you're listening to it, that would take probably it would take me 2 hours. So instead of doing that, I use AI on Microsoft Word. So you're able to just like edit the video into a chunk. You chunk your interview down into a timeline. You export that video onto your desktop, and then you like upload it into Word, and it transcribes everything for you. And that way, if somebody else needs to look at the interview, they can just kind of look at that log, the script of the interview, and it makes it easier for them. Now, I still listen back to the whole thing as I'm writing, but using AI for that purpose, I feel like is a positive thing. But you also do have to be careful, because there are a lot of deep fakes now, and AI is getting better and better. So you have to make sure that if somebody sends the newsroom video, that it's real and not AI. Um, so there are things like that. Like ethically, you've just got to be aware of the situation and who you're talking to and who you're communicating with to make sure it's legit.
Do you find AI will shrink the media workforce in the future too?
It could. I mean, there's talk of that happening where it would replace people's jobs. Um, I haven't seen that yet in our newsroom because I think we're just using it. We're kind of just starting to use it within the past year or two. Um, but there are AI news anchors that have been created. So in X amount of years, will our jobs be replaced by AI bots? I don't know. I think people want to feel connected to the journalists that they're getting stories from. So I would hope that everything wouldn't go the way of AI bots. I mean, that would be bad for our whole newsroom, but I could see AI definitely making our jobs easier as long as it's used in the right way and as long as it's accurate, because there are still a lot of cases where AI hallucinates and it'll come up with, way wrong things. Like there was the example of it coming up with a recipe that was telling people to eat glue. So there are still issues with it, but it's getting better and better every day. So yeah, I could see it definitely like changing the landscape in newsrooms across the country for sure.
Kelly, I don't think I asked you this the last time you came on my show, and I want to get your perspective as well because you've been in media a lot longer than me, and you went to school for it, and I'm self-taught. How would you describe your interviewing style, and what, in your opinion, makes a good interview these days?
I think people who listen are the best interviewers. You have to be able to listen to the person you're interviewing and your preconceived notions about the way you want the interview to go, they might not happen. And you've got to be listening to the answers you're getting. And you might have a list of questions. Like, I never write down my questions ahead of time, but you might have a list in your head or an idea of what you want to ask the person. And then based on what they're telling you in their first answer, you might go in a totally different direction. If there's stuff that I want to make sure I ask, I write it down, but I never like write out a list of questions and I can kind of just see where things are going to go. But it also depends on who you're interviewing. If it's a profile piece, I'm going to want to know about the person's background and maybe like like with Dr. Nielsen, I chronologically went through her career to get her story so I could tell her full story. But if there's a situation where you're with a bunch of other reporters, you might only get a chance to ask one or two questions. So you've got to have your main questions that you know you need to ask in your head. If another person asks that question, you've got to move on to your next question because otherwise you might not get to ask one. Somebody might ask a whole bunch of questions in a row and they might like block you out of asking a question. So it just depends. If it's a one-on-one interview, I find that I like those interviews better because then you're really connecting with somebody as opposed to a press conference situation where you have somebody up at a podium with a bunch of mics there, or you're crowded around somebody and they're being interviewed all at the same time. Now, I don't mind interviewing at the same time as another reporter, and sometimes it's easier because you're on deadline and you've just convinced this person to talk, and everybody needs to talk to the same person anyways. Maybe the person is nervous and it's probably better that they only have to do one interview instead of being interviewed by every station and every newspaper and every radio station separately. Um, so it's dependent on the situation, but I would say listening is the number one thing. And then I sometimes take detailed notes if it's at a press conference, but if I'm just talking to the person and I know I'm going to have time to listen back to the interview or have AI transcribe it later, I don't take a lot of notes because I'm more paying attention to the person's body language and, the answers they're giving me. But if it's a press conference, I take detailed notes because that's usually a situation where it's a quick turnaround and you're having to turn like three or four stories and you need to be able to look back at the notes to figure out where on the recording the person's soundbite is that you want. So again, it just depends on the situation.
When I started this 6 years ago, everything was scripted and all that, and I had a
Yeah.
couple guys come on from the NBA, Eric Smith from the Raptors, Chuck Swirsky from the Bulls, gave me some great advice. Chris, it's all right to make points and notes down, but make
Yep.
sure you have good eye contact and have a
Yeah.
natural conversation with your guests. And I've also learned to do in-person interviews as well. And as much as I love doing this virtual talk show, absolutely love it. I love doing in-person interviews as well because you have to listen even more and you have to think on your feet more. And also these press
Mhm.
conferences too. Sometimes you go there, you've got questions prepared in your head, you're going to ask, and then somebody else beats you. So you
Yep.
always have to have a plan B, plan C, plan D. So that's something I'm still evolving and learning as well, Kelly.
Yeah, and you've just got to be able to figure out as you go, and as you get more practice, it gets easier. But the first time that you're at a press conference with a whole bunch of people, or maybe with different people, maybe, you've moved to a different station or something, like that could be nerve-wracking, but it's like riding a bike, and once you've done it once, you can kind of handle any situation. You've got to be confident too.
And a lot of these sports teams have helped me learn the skills. And also
Yeah.
John Tavares of the Bandits, when I first started talking to him during the press conferences, I was very intimidated by him. But then the more I was there, the more questions I'd ask him, he would get familiar with me, and then I would know his style and he would know my style as well. But press conferences, yeah, they can be a little tricky because there's so many other
Yep.
people there, and sometimes people already beat you to the punch with your questions. So that's something I've learned too.
Yeah.
Kelly, if you're okay for another 10 minutes or 9 minutes,
Sure.
I
Yes.
wanted to get your thoughts. I know I'm going to ask you this. Before you came to Buffalo back in 2013, were you really a big sports fan, or did moving to Buffalo make you become a sports fan because of the Bills, the Sabres, the Bandits, and the Bisons?
Buffalo's definitely, out of all the cities I've lived in, except for Cincinnati, has the most sports teams. And I only lived in Cincinnati for a little less than 3 years. So this is the longest I've lived anywhere except for Connecticut, where I grew up. And I feel like because of my job and how great the teams are here, I feel like I've become more of a sports fan since I moved here for sure. Where I lived here before was Little Rock, Arkansas. So really, like, the Razorbacks were huge, even though they were in Fayetteville. And then before that, when I lived in Montana, again, like, college sports were like what you covered, college and high school sports in Montana and Little Rock. And those were my two previous on-air jobs. When I was in Cincinnati, I was a producer. And then before that, I was in Wilkes-Barre and I was a producer. But this is definitely the place where you have the most sports coverage, especially on a professional level, for sure. For sure.
Hey, Kelly, thoughts on the 25-26 Buffalo Sabres, their amazing turnaround season, and how much do the Sabres mean to the Western New York area?
Oh, it's huge. This is the first time since I moved here that the Sabres have made the playoffs. And then it's the first time they've made it to the second round since I think 2007.
In a
So
while.
game one is here Wednesday night at 7, and everybody's very excited. Ticket prices are insane. I think this morning Natalie checked them, and the cheapest tickets were almost 600. I think they were 5 something for the 300 level. So
Wow.
if you're way up there, I mean, you're still in the arena, so you're still at the game. If you sit in like the first row of the 300s, those seats are really, really good because you can see all of the ice and you have a really good perspective. So those are good seats. But yeah, the cheapest seats were right under $600 US. And then I think she found tickets that were like $2,800. So I have no idea who is buying these tickets, who can afford to go to the game. The tickets for Friday, because game two is also here Friday night at 7. Those tickets, she said, were even more expensive. So yeah, I will be watching at home, and then Game 3 is in Montreal Sunday night. So I don't know who from our station is going to cover that yet. I assume it's just the sports people, but a news person could end up going. They haven't asked me to go, and I don't think they will. But that'd be cool to go to Montreal. Now there's no direct flight from Buffalo. So I think you would either have to drive to Hamilton and fly from Hamilton to Montreal, or drive up to Pearson and then fly, and then like at that point maybe just drive. But
It might be better.
Yeah, driving might make
Yeah.
more sense. We've been there twice and we've driven, but that was also not for work, that was for vacation. So if you're driving and I would think that they would send at least 2 people. But if you're driving and it's like a 6-hour, I forget how long it is. It's a long drive, longish. But if you're driving, you have to do the drive and then do a whole work shift. And then, they would stay overnight, so they wouldn't have to drive there and back in one day. That would be crazy. But yeah, so I'm sure that they're figuring that out today, because I'm sure we're sending people, for game 3 and 4. So maybe they'll stay up there the whole time. I don't know.
I love to talk to somebody from the Sabres organization, because Buffalo's got a great fan base, but the Montreal Canadiens, they are like the New York Yankees of the NHL, and they have a huge traveling fan base.
Yep.
I just want to know if the Sabres are going to limit ticket sales from outside of Western New York.
I don't think I've seen anything about that yet. We were talking about that in our morning meeting, because people had remembered, I think, that Carolina did that to the Sabres before, a long time ago when the Sabres were in the playoffs before this. But I don't think I've seen anything about that yet, because the Canadiens are the only Canadian team still in it, right? So it's like
the Sabres are technically part of Canada too.
Yeah.
They're our adopted brother here. So.
Yeah. So I think like your whole country is going to be rooting either for the Sabres or the Canadiens. But yeah, you're not going to be able to get a cheap seat at KeyBank Center Friday or Wednesday or Friday. I mean, you're just not. Which it'll be cool. Like, I'm excited to see it, but yeah, I'll be watching the game from home.
This will be great for Buffalo's economy too, with Montreal fans coming, Sabres fans, hockey fans coming. So this will help the local establishments. And I'm assuming WGR will be like doing stuff behind the scenes, like the restaurants and all that, how much business it's going to bring.
Yep. Yeah. And I know the bars and restaurants so far have made out really well, because there were some that were usually not open on the nights that they had games. So they were able to open and have watch parties. And so I think that was Chelsea's story today, looking to see where there were going to be watch parties, especially for Sunday, since that's an away game. There's got to be a place for people to go and watch together. Now, we haven't heard anything about them opening up the arena to do that like Montreal did, because that was impressive last night. And if they did something like that, that would be fantastic. They have been doing, during home games, they have Party in the Plaza, and that starts 3 hours before the game starts. And then they also have been doing watch parties at Canal Side, and that opens up 2 hours before the game starts. And they put up a couple of big screens and people can hang out, and you don't need a ticket to the game to go to either one of those things. But that's only been for home games. So for away games, there's this group, the Buffalo Saberhood, and they have been doing watch parties and like spreading the love to different bars in Buffalo and in the suburbs too. So they'll pick a place to have the watch party at for all the away games. So I know that group has done something, but other than that, it would be great to see something at the arena just to bring everybody together. And I'm sure that they would fill it up.
By the way, Montreal hasn't won a Stanley Cup since 1993, so this is
Oh,
a 34-year drought for them, which is the longest in their
wow.
team history. And the Sabres have never won the Cup. They've been to the
Yep.
Cup twice, so I think the series is going to go 7, and I think it's going to be very entertaining hockey. And I wish I was doing media work for this series because I think it's going to be probably the best series in the next round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, in my opinion.
Oh, nice. Yeah. No, it was I mean, playing Boston was fun too because there was that game, not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before, where the Sabres won like 6-1, and that was crazy. So hopefully this next round is fun too to watch.
Hey, Kelly, as we wrap the show up, just quick thoughts on Cami Klung's
Yeah.
misfunction Mike last week at
Yeah.
the KBC and the Buffalo fans singing the rest of old Canada. And I really thought that was a nice honor towards your Canadian neighbors and how much Canadian neighbors mean to the Western New York area.
That was really cool because, I saw the clip started circulating that night and I thought, oh, okay, that's nice. And then the next morning, like the New York Times did a story and it went global. I mean, it would have because it's Canada and it's cross border, but it was really cool to see that story take off and just people learning about how both anthems are done before the games here because I think a lot of people didn't realize that. And when the series first started, they were like, "What is going on? Why are they singing the Canadian national anthem?" It's like that's just what we do here. People didn't know.
I know the Sabres have always done it. The Bisons have always done it. The Bandits as well. I know being a Detroit sports fan, the Red Wings
I think
used to do
Detroit
it.
does it too, right? I thought they did, but do
They
they
used
not do
to.
it anymore? Okay.
Unless they're playing a Canadian team over Detroit, they don't
Oh,
do it
okay.
anymore. But
Okay.
Buffalo is all the teams in Buffalo minus the Bills do it, and I think it's a
Yeah.
nice tradition. And you know what? Like I said, with whatever's going on in the world right now, that was kind of a nice story because we kind of need to see more nice, happy, good stories like that
Yes.
too.
It was a sweet moment, and it was impressive that everybody knew all the words too. It's like you could
Have
actually hear the words. People, they
yeah,
weren't mumbling through it.
yeah,
Everybody knows.
yeah. Have you actually listened to the local Buffalo recording artist Cami Klung's new version of "We're Gonna Win the Cup"? It's very catchy and
No,
very good.
I haven't heard it yet, but I think Lauren is doing a story about it today, or I think somebody's doing a story about it today and either interviewed Cami about it or
She's
it
terrific.
was going to involve like more of the song or something. And I haven't seen the story yet, but it also might be airing today. But then there was also talk of that song being bad luck. So I think that whoever interviewed her had to ask her about that because it might be cursed or something.
By the way, Kelly, if you're okay for a couple more minutes,
Sure.
I do have the song from her YouTube channel, Cami
Oh,
Klung's
wow.
YouTube channel
Okay.
to
Yeah,
play.
yeah.
And I even though I'm a Detroit Red Wing fan, it's very catchy, and she really honored this song, which I think is dating back to the 1970s.
Yeah.
Okay, just one second. It's only about 2.5 minutes. Are you okay
Okay.
for a few
Yeah,
more
let's
minutes? Okay.
listen to it.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I
yeah.
really love this song, and she did a great job doing her edition of it. It's called "We're Gonna Win That Cup 2026 Buffalo Sabres" by Cami Klung. And we're gonna play it right now, courtesy of her YouTube channel.
You know we're gonna win that cup. You know we're gonna win that Stanley Cup. Me and the Buffalo Sabres, yeah, yeah, yeah. You know our darling, he's gonna skate circles around you. 'Cause my Sabres are razor sharp, yeah, yeah. We got Luke, we got Lion Ellis, making them saves. You know we got Benson and Thompson, and where there's a Quinn, there's a way. You know we're gonna win that cup. We're gonna slap that puck. Me and the Buffalo Sabres, yeah, yeah, yeah. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. We got tucked-on crabs and soccer leading the way. You know we got Dan and Razor calling the plays. You know we're gonna win that cup. We're gonna slap that puck. Me and the Buffalo Sabres, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na.
That clip was courtesy of Cammy's Clunes YouTube channel. Kelly, thoughts on that song?
It's very catchy. I just hope that it isn't a curse.
I don't think
Hopefully
it is.
it brings them luck.
Absolutely. Now, what do you prefer, the red and black or the blue and gold for
I
their
feel like
uniforms, colors?
I like the classic blue and gold, but I do know that they tend to do well when they're wearing the red and black. And there was a big stretch where they won like every home game where they were wearing red and black a whole bunch in a row. So I feel like the red and black is good luck, but I do like the classic blue and gold best.
Do you have any Sabres stuff for your cats and dog?
No, you know what? They don't have any Sabres gear. They don't have any Bills gear either. But we do have different like neckties for Milo. So we do have colors that could be Bills or Sabres colors for him. And the cats would not tolerate us putting anything on them at all. So I don't even want to try with them.
I had one of my Buffalo guests on last week, Ellie Brady from the Buffalo Bandits, and her dog Hat Trick, she named after her hockey Hat Trick. A little bulldog has a Buffalo Sabre sweater on him. So she brought Hat Trick on, and it was cute. So you see people with their favorite sports teams doing that with their pets and that, but some pets won't let you do it. It just depends.
Yeah.
Hey, Kelly, as
Milo
we wrap
has
this
a sweater, but yeah.
Go ahead.
It's not a Milo has a sweater, but it's not a Bills or Sabres sweater. It's just his like Christmassy winter color sweater.
And you know who I'm so happy for is Dan Dunleavy, who's a friend of mine. He's from Toronto. He's been with Buffalo for a long time, having to follow in the footsteps of the late RJ. This is the first time Dan's called playoff hockey for the Sabres. And Dan Dunleavy and Rob Ray do a really good job on the MSG broadcasts too.
Yeah, they do. And that's got to be exciting for them because it's been so long. So, yeah.
As we wrap this show up, Kelly, I want to get your prediction. Canadians and Sabres. Who do you see winning how many games?
I feel like a lot of people are saying Sabres in 6. And I don't know if that's because of the Boston series or what. But I've heard a lot of people say that. I mean, it seems like both teams are obviously really going to want it, but hopefully the Sabres are hungrier and hopefully the Sabres end up winning.
One of the guys on the Montreal Canadiens, he played his junior hockey here in Guelph, where I live for the Guelph Storm. Nick Suzuki. I had my picture with him 6 years ago. Really down to earth guy. So I'm hoping Nick and them do really well. Even though I'm Canadian, I'm not a Canadiens fan, and I want to see a Canadian team win the cup, but Buffalo is kind of close enough. So I'm going to go with the Sabres in 7 games over Montreal. I think it's going to go the full 7 games.
Wow.
And
okay.
It's going to be a nail biter.
Yeah. And what game 7 would be Saturday, like Saturday in almost 2 weeks from now, right? I think.
Yes.
If there's a game 7.
Oh, actually, game 7 would be Monday, May 18th.
On Monday. Okay. Game 6 would be Saturday. Okay.
Yes. They're going to drag hockey out until the middle of June, by the way.
Yeah, so if there's a game 7, it's not
Yeah,
until 2 weeks from today.
absolutely. And finally, as we wrap the show up, this is a new segment on my show. Ask the host
Ooh,
CDP a question. Do you have a question for me
ooh,
before we wrap this up?
okay. What has been your favorite part of covering sports and, like, getting the press passes and being able to experience that and getting used to being in the press conferences and getting access to the press box?
Just connecting with other media, the fans, people that are behind the scenes of the organizations,
Yeah.
and everybody that I talk to, it could be people that are in their 20s or people that are in their 60s or 70s or my age. I'm 53. Just connecting with them, and everybody that's there working there obviously has a passion for what they do,
Yep.
and I always connect, network with them, and also I pick people's brains too that have been in the industry a long time. And it's just I love being at the arena and stadium. It's not really work when you find a passion for it.
That's true. That's true. I agree.
Finally, Kelly, where can our audience follow you on social media? And the
Yes.
best way of contacting you if somebody has a news story idea for you guys.
Yeah, so the best way to contact me is email, good old email. My email address is kelly.dudzik, Dudzik, at WGRZ.com. But you can also find me on X, and I also have a professional Facebook page as well. So just type in my name and WGRZ. I think if you go to our website, that'll also give you links to all of those options as well.
Does WGR have a TikTok page yet?
That's a good question. I feel like we did at one point, but I don't know how active it is yet. At one point there were people doing TikTok videos for the station, but I am not on TikTok myself.
No.
So I don't know. I should know that. I think there was a page, but I don't know if that has been a focus lately. We've all been doing vertical videos for the app.
TikTok, I joined 5 years ago. One of the
Yeah.
guys that was on my show from Philadelphia told me, "Chris, you wanna get into radio media, you gotta get your name out there. You
Yep.
gotta get on TikTok." And I'm like, "I'm too old for this." And you know what? I've been on TikTok for 5.5 years, and I learned how to cut promos for my guests like you, myself. I've learned how to create content because in media, I love doing the on-air stuff, but the more hats you literally can do,
Yes.
it makes you
Yep.
more valuable. So I try to tell high school kids too, when you do find that career, don't just stick to one thing. Try to learn as much
Yeah.
as you can of other areas as well. And content creating and social media is a full-time job itself.
Yeah, it is, and there's always the next thing. There's gonna be something after TikTok. There's gonna be, it just keeps on moving right along.
Trends. You got to
Yep.
stay ahead of the trends. Hey,
Mhm.
Kelly, I want to say thank you for giving us more than 45 minutes. I apologize for
Aw.
keeping you
No,
later,
that's
but
fine. We're
an
all
hour,
good.
an hour flies by when you're having a good
Yes, it
conversation.
does. Yes,
And it's
this is a
the
fantastic conversation. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, it's the guests that make a great show, and thank you for being a part of my 700 plus shows. And even though
Yes.
I don't live in Buffalo, Buffalo is like my second home. And hopefully one day
Aw.
I will be able to come back to Buffalo because I miss everybody from the Bandits and the Bisons, and
Yeah,
everybody in your city just treats me like one of your own. And I feel like I'm still in Ontario when I come over to Buffalo.
it is. It's the city of good neighbors. That's why they call it that.
Absolutely. Well, Kelly, continued success with WGRZ Channel
Thank
2.
you.
Good luck to your Sabres and your Bills as long as you're not playing
Yes.
the Eagles.
Yeah.
And next time we have you on, we'll have to talk about the new stadium and the impact of
Yes.
the
Yep.
new stadium in Orchard Park as well. I could probably speak to you for 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, and that's opening up this summer, so yeah.
Wow. So, all right, Kelly. Well, thank you so much. Make
Alright.
sure you spoil your cats and
Yes.
Milo for me as well. And we'll talk to you soon on social media.
Great. Alright, go Sabres.
Go Sabres. Thanks, Kelly, so much.
Alright, bye.
Bye. All right, everyone. That wraps up season 13, episode 43, overall 704 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by our friends at Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership here in Guelph. And I want to say thank you to Kelly Dudzik, an Emmy Award winning journalist anchor reporter with WGRZ Channel 2 in Buffalo, New York for the last 13 years. And she also has 4 cats and a dog, and she loves her Buffalo Sabres and Buffalo Bills as well. And please check out Kelly on WGRZ.com, or you can find her on Twitter, X, and her Facebook page as well. So thank you to Kelly Dudzik from WGRZ Channel 2 in Buffalo for coming on here today. I was supposed to have another show tomorrow, Tuesday, May 5th at 11:30 with Brad Bisbing, the Assistant General Manager of the Buffalo Bisons. Brad is the Assistant General Manager of the Bisons, like I mentioned, and he had some meetings come up tomorrow. So hopefully we'll get Brad on either tomorrow night or sometime later in the week. So check my social media pages for an update on Brad Bisbing from the Buffalo Bisons as the Assistant General Manager, and he's also in charge of marketing and public relations with the Bisons. So Brad wears many hats with the Bisons. So Brad will come on. It's just a matter of we'll work around his schedule as well. And the Bisons right now are on the road. I believe they're in Lehigh Valley. They had a 12-game road trip, 6 in Scranton, and then I think this week they're against the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, the top farm team of the Philadelphia Phillies. The Bisons don't return home into Saline Field on May 12th as well. So hopefully we'll talk some Buffalo Bisons baseball and some of their upcoming promotions and events at Saline Field this summer with Brad Bisbing, the Assistant General Manager of the Buffalo Bisons. And I will let you guys know when Brad is able to come on as a guest, hopefully later in this week as well. And as we wrap up the show, guys, Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership is your go-to service destination for brakes. Get up to $120 instant savings on GM genuine parts, brake pads, rotors, and a no-charge brake inspection. Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership, again, is your go-to service destination for brakes. Again, you can get $120 instant savings on genuine parts, brake pads and rotors, and a no-charge brake inspection. And we all drive a lot, so let's make sure that we're safe on the road for yourself, your family, your friends, and other people. And right now, a no-free brake inspection. And take care of your car. It'll take care of you. And go see Andrew and the service staff at Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership. They will take care of your vehicle needs. And again, you can call them at 519-824-0210 and tell them Chris Palme sent you, or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership, again, is a proud sponsor and advertiser on Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. As we wrap up this show, guys, if you'd like a personalized video message, check out cameo.com/Chris Palme. Book a personal video message for me. Happy birthday, happy Hanukkah, happy anniversary, congratulations, anything within reason. So check me out on cameo.com/Chris Palme, and I look forward to doing your cameo today. You can also follow me on Live with CDP on Blue Sky Social at Live with CDP 19 on Blue Sky Social. If you're looking to adopt a pet, check out the Cambridge District Humane Society at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. Telephone number 519-623-7722, extension 0, or visit their website at cambridgehumanesociety.org. All the pets, animals that are up for adoption, their profiles, their pictures, information are on cambridgehumanesociety.org. And Michelle and their staff do a wonderful job looking after the homeless animals down at the Cambridge District Humane Society, ensuring they get adopted into good homes with good families as well. So at the Cambridge District Humane Society, you can't buy happiness, but you can adopt it. Finally, guys, Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is live streamed on YouTube, Facebook, X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram and hopefully TikTok in the future. Please check out my revised website at beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. All my media content, social media sites, and some of my best interviews are on beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is also on TikTok. You can follow me on TikTok at Chris Palme. I post a lot of content there, so make sure you follow, share, and like my content on TikTok at Chris Palme. StreamYard is the official live streamer provider of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. If you're into webinars, live streaming, podcasting, go to StreamYard.com. They have basic free plans, paid professional plans like I have, or if you're a business that does a lot of webinars, go to StreamYard.com. Contact your sales department for business pricing as well. Yours truly has used StreamYard now for the last 5 years, and I give them a big thumbs up. So for your live streaming needs, check out StreamYard.com. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. The audio version is on iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, Tuned In, YouTube Music, Good Pods. Please subscribe, like, and share. And I want to say thank you to 82 countries around the world for listening to Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. And I've just reached over 12,000 downloads and streams on my Spotify channel. As we wrap up this show, guys, you can contact me live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show at cpame19@gmail.com. Any comments, questions, suggestions would be greatly appreciated. And also, if you like to support my YouTube channel and my media work, I am on paypal.com. Go to paypal.com at Chris Pame if you'd like to contribute to my YouTube channel or my media work, either by PayPal or booking a personalized video message through cameo.com/Chris Pame. Finally, guys, you can find me on Facebook, Threads, X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Threads, Blue Sky, everywhere except Snapchat. And remember to subscribe, like, and share to my YouTube channel, Chris Pame, Live with CDP Talk Show. My next goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers and to get 1 million views. So please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. I have a lot of content there, and also check out my YouTube shorts. I have a lot of short video content there as well. So Chris Pame, Live with CDP Talk Show on YouTube. Subscribe, like, and share. And to those people who are already subscribing and viewing my show, thank you so much as well. And as we wrap up the show, guys, we got some news today. The New York Yankees lost their longtime radio voice, play-by-play announcer, John Sterling, at the age of 87. John Sterling called the Yankee games for over 35 years. And one of his famous calls was after the Yankees would win a game, he'd say, "The Yankees win, the Yankees win." So deepest sympathies and condolences to John Sterling's family, friends, colleagues, and to the New York Yankees organization. When you think of New York Yankees baseball, you think of Mel Allen, the late Mel Allen, and now the late John Sterling. And John, I never had the pleasure of meeting, but he meant so much to the broadcasting world. He also did Atlanta Braves games. He also did NBA games, and he did the New York Yankee games for over 35 years. So rest in peace, John Sterling. And the Yankees, I believe, will honor him to the rest of the year. So John Sterling, deceased at the age of 87. And some other sports news today: the Detroit Tigers are going to be without Tarek Skubro for the next 2 to 3 months. He's going under some surgery today, so he's going to be out approximately between 2 and 3 months as well. And the Tigers are back in action tonight at 6:10 when they are at home at Comerica Park, taking on the Boston Red Sox. Skudrow was supposed to start today, but Tarek will be on the disabled list for the next 2 to 3 months. So hopefully Tarek will get better, and we'll be back with the Tigers maybe by the end of July. I would say hopefully by the beginning of July. It's May 4th today. So if everything goes according to plan, maybe by the end of June or beginning of July, he'll be back as well. The Tigers are coming off a big 7-1 win last night against Texas on Sunday Night Baseball. The Tigers are 8-17. And also, the Detroit Pistons advanced to the second round of the NBA playoffs for the first time since 2008, when they were based out of the Palace of Auburn Hills. The Pistons destroyed Orlando yesterday, 116-93. So the Pistons now advance to the second round against the Cleveland Cavaliers starting tomorrow night, Game 1, 7 o'clock at Little Caesars Arena, Pistons and Cavs, and I've got the Pistons winning this series in 7 games. I think it's going to be another 7-game series, and credit to the Orlando Magic, even though they blew a 3-1 lead. Orlando made Detroit work and earn this series. So hopefully this 7-game series against Orlando has prepared the Pistons for the next round against the Cavaliers, who eliminated the Toronto Raptors last night as well. As we wrap this show up today on the 68-degree Fahrenheit day here in Southern Ontario, we've got Stanley Cup playoffs tonight. We got Philadelphia at Carolina tonight in round 2. Carolina's up 1-0 in that series. And then the other round 2 series starts tonight. The Anaheim Ducks at Vegas at 9:30. That series, that's game 1. And then NBA tonight, we got the Philadelphia 76ers taking on the Knicks in game 1 of the second round of NBA playoffs at 8 o'clock. And then the other games, the late game, Minnesota at the Spurs at 9:30 as well. And it's a great time of the year with the Stanley Cup playoffs, the NBA playoffs. You got Major League Baseball going on and lacrosse going on too. Right now, Halifax leads Georgia 1-0 and have the chance to eliminate them in game 2 back in Halifax. And the Toronto Rock yesterday had a chance to advance to the NLL finals, but they lost 11-6 at the San Diego Seals. So that series is now tied 1-1. The Rock and Seals will meet in game 3, winner take all, this Saturday, May 9th at the TD Coliseum in Hamilton as well. So we're down to the nitty gritty in the National Lacrosse League playoffs as well. So anyways, guys, I will let you guys know when my next show is. I'm going to have to reschedule with Brad Bisbing, the assistant general manager of the Buffalo Bisons. Hopefully Brad will be on later in the on the show later this week. So I will let you guys know about that. And I do have another show coming on Thursday, May 7th at 9 p.m. Eastern. That's Thursday, May 7th at 9 p.m. Eastern with my special guest, Jessica Waters. She is a reflexologist, and she's also a content creator as well. So please tune into that show as well. So Thursday, May 7th at 9 p.m. with Jessica Walters, a reflexologist and a content creator. And if I do have a show before then, I will let you guys know on social media as well. Again, I want to say thank you to Kelly Dudzik from WGR Channel 2 in Buffalo for coming on here today. And I want to say thank you to the audience watching this on live stream or my audio platforms as well. I hope everybody has a great night. Enjoy the Stanley Cup playoffs, enjoy the Stanley Cup playoffs, the NBA playoffs, and Major League Baseball. And we will see you back here very soon this week for another edition of Live with CDP Sports Entertainment Talk Show, hosted by Chris Pame and brought to you by our friends at Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership here in Guelph. Have a great afternoon, everybody.